What in the world just happened? Did we actually just witness Emu wiping an entire island off the face of the earth with nothing but a pen stroke? This panel of a gigantic sphere crushing the island of Lulucia Kingdom into the ocean, not leaving behind any trace of it, is easily one of the most ominous panels I have ever seen in the story. It's right up there with the likes of Zunisha's first appearance, or Kaido's, or the giant shadows in the Florian Triangle. But as if this wasn't enough already, Eiichiro Oda once again dropped a bombshell, having Luffy reveal his true dream to the crew, and in extension to Caribou, who is stored away in a barrel on the ship. That, I want to say, people speculated might contain Carrot. But I mean, who knows? Maybe Carrot is stored inside of Caribou, who's stored inside of the barrel, like a Russian nesting doll kind of thing. It also looks like the crew will be spending a lot of time with Jewelry Bonnie, who's one of the characters I have been the most excited about to get screen time, and it looks like we're about to arrive at the next island, which seems to be neither Sphinx Island nor Elbaf, but a mysterious winter island. Once again, you gotta say it's a classic move by Oda-sensei, going someplace none of us could have ever anticipated. And I think it's so awesome to finally go back to a winter island after all this time. I mean, I guess Punk Hazard sort of counts, but with its artificially changed climate that was half lava and half snow, and Caesar's experiments on it didn't quite have the same energy or snowy vibe as Chopper's home country on Drum Island, if you know what I mean. But before we get to the Straw Hats and all the great and exciting stuff that's going on with them, I simply have to begin with Sabo's storyline, because holy Usopp. So, as you'll remember, Sabo has been calling the headquarters of the Revolutionary Army on Kamabaka Island to inform them, what had happened to him. And we do see the entire upper echelon of the Revolutionary Army assembled just to listen in what he has to report, including Luffy's father Monkey D. Dragon, the 4 commanders, Ivankov, Heck, and of course Koala. And just to get it out of the way, Sabo of course clarifies what you and me already knew, that he wasn't the one that assassinated King Cobra of Alabasta, Vivi's father. What I actually found notable here is that there is no sign that Vivi is with Sabo right now, which I personally kind of would have expected. It looks like the princess is on her own somewhere out there. Sabo, however, quickly moves on to the next much more important point, if we're being honest. He mentions the empty throne inside Pangaea Castle, Marijoa. But before he's able to finish what exactly he saw happen there in the throne room, he's apparently cut off. And we do know why, because while Sabo is on the phone with the revolutionaries, the Marines have been listening in. Sabo had apparently been in such a hurry to share this news that he wasn't able to get his hands on a secure white Denden Mushi that can't be bugged and listened on in. Either that or Sabo actively wanted to be overheard by the Marines, so they would find out the truth about their government as well that even they didn't know. That there is a true ruler of the world that sits on the empty throne, Emu. The Marines have successfully managed to track Sabo's location to the island of Lulucia. You might remember this island from not too long ago. It was the place where we first got introduced to the revolutionary commanders who helped the citizens there overthrow their cruel king, who we do see in this chapter in prison, I guess, and just being a dick. And so the real banger is that the Gorosei are shocked by this reveal and actually pity Sabo. Why? Well, remember when the Gorosei talked to Emu about a great cleansing and a light being extinguished from the world? Well, it turns out that Emu had decided that exactly this island that Sabo is on, Lulucia, should be just that light. And so, at least my personal understanding of the situation right now is that Emu didn't decide to destroy this place to keep Sabo from revealing their existence. Much rather, it seems more of an unlucky coincidence that Sabo is just at the wrong place at the very wrong time. And so before Sabo can actually reveal anything, the Gorosei ordered the Marines communications team to cut off their transponder snails. Emu is striking through the island on a map, and immediately we see dark clouds gathering over the island, a massive shadow appears, then a bright light accompanied by Emu's admittedly quite frightening looking gaze, and a giant sphere crashes into the island, obliterating any trace that Lulucia has ever existed. Wow. Now, the way this was drawn makes it easily one of the most brutal moments in the entire series. I got actual goosebumps reading it, and I just can't even imagine how crazy this scene will eventually look in the anime. Okay, so what in the name of Usopp has happened here? What is that power that Imu has used, and why did they decide to take out this particular island in this very extreme fashion? Well, the first thing that probably immediately popped out for you as well is that what we just saw here perfectly fits the description of what happened to the island of God Valley. An island that simply vanished from both the maps and history, a part of the world cleansed from existence. I mean, if you ever needed another reason why Laugh Tale is a hidden island with an unknown location, now you have it. If you want a safe place to store the secrets of the world, you better make sure that it can't be nuked into oblivion by the main enemy. Also, as my editor kindly reminded me, this might actually be more evidence for the big theory that Laugh Tale either is below Enies Lobby or in the middle of the giant whirlpool in the middle of Enies Lobby, Impel Down, and Marineford. Admittedly, a great way to hide and protect it from Imu by it being directly under the government's nose. Or maybe the government actually knows about it being there and just built their best protected places around it, including the Gates of Justice. Of course, there's also the possibility that this giant gaping hole under Enies Lobby might be connected to this crazy weapon we just see falling from the sky as well. Maybe it struck there before, or it could be where it's hidden or stored when it's not being used. In any case, if you haven't checked out those theories, I strongly recommend you do so after this video. But on a different note, I found it so mean of Oda-sensei to show us this little kid and all these innocent civilians who just regained their freedom and peace, by the way, being all taken out in an instant. But of course, from a storytelling perspective, it just makes this moment just the more impactful, no pun intended. The only possible survivor I see here is Sabo himself, who is a Logia Devil Fruit user, and I doubt that this giant thing was covered in haki. But even then, if the entire island was destroyed and there's only ocean left after this, he might still be in a significant amount of trouble here. Though I do think that you agree too that he will somehow pull through and make it out of here alive. And interestingly enough, this is actually the first active evil thing that we do see Imu do, so it seems like Oda-sensei is really starting to set them up as the ultimate villain of the story. Ooh, it's getting pretty warm here. But how exactly did they do it? How does this work? Well, the panels here suggest that Imu, or possibly someone else, crossing out an island on a map somehow summons this cataclysmic power. But I mean, we all know that this could just be a red herring by Oda-sensei. It's very much possible that the map is simply meant to symbolize that this island has been wiped off the face of the earth, kind of readjusting the map, and not be at all related to this power at all. But then again, maybe it is part of the power. Much more important is the question, what is it? And the most obvious answer here is, of course, Uranus. It could be that the government has somehow gotten their hands on one of the ancient weapons. With Pluton in Wano and Poseidon on Fishman Islands, Uranus is still very much unaccounted for. Plus, the fact that it's supposed to be a weapon connected to the sky that can destroy the world fits very well with what we just saw here pretty nicely. On the other hand, the ancient weapons were originally created to oppose the world government, and it's been heavily implied that Luffy needs to collect all three of them in order to change the world. So another possibility that I actually made a video about just a few days ago, funnily, is that this is some sort of ultimate devil fruit power that Imu wields. It could of course also be some other sort of ancient technology, like a spaceship, and I'm probably also not the only one who remembers this really strange moon-shaped object that sucked in Cabone Bedge's ship after the time skip here. It's also a giant sphere, though I'm not sure it would make sense to just smash that into the ground every single time and then kind of retrieve it, but who knows. I actually have a whole different theory about this thing and how it will be important in the story very, very soon, so make sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss that. But no matter what exactly this thing is, it's the first time that we see some of the true power of the world government. Yes, having the admirals is of course nice, but it was always clear that they would have a much bigger ace up their sleeve in order to control the entire world for such a long time. I'm honestly really curious if Ym's power simply lies in controlling these powerful weapons, or if they themselves can actually fight as well. It's just amazing that just as Kaido, the previously biggest calamity in the world, is out of the picture, Oda-sensei goes in and gives us this. Love it. I just want to know, why this apparently random island? Well, it turns out that Lulucia has been appearing in the story a number of times. As I've mentioned before, it was one of the 8 countries the Revolutionary Army helped to overthrow their corrupt and cruel rulers. Now you might say that this by itself might already explain why Imu decided to stomp it out, but there is more. This is the same place that Ace visited during his cover story while he was out hunting for Blackbeard. Very fitting that Sabo is now here as well. It's here that Ace befriended a little girl, similar to Tama, and where we get this cover story of Ace looking very similar to Nika as a silhouette. On top of that, someone also linked me a very interesting theory on Reddit from over a year ago, where someone argues that Lulucia might have been the hideout for many of the remaining level 6 prisoners that escaped Impel Down during the breakout and didn't join Blackbeard. The bounty hunter Jean Ango tells Luffy that he tracked down all the level 6 prisoners' locations. The princess of this country, who doesn't exactly get sympathy points during this chapter either, is the one that was kidnapped on the way to the Reverie and later saved by Kobe. And in an SBS, Oda-sensei revealed that this island used to be a very peaceful place, similarly to what we see during Ace's visit before the new king Seki took over, who made the people suffer. And so it would really make a lot of sense timeline-wise that after the mass breakout of Impel Down, the level 6 prisoners came here and helped Seki overthrow the previous king. Now, whether or not this is true, I found this an incredibly smart little theory, and it would give Imu a much bigger and better reason to destroy this place, taking out a ton of super dangerous pirates and criminals that escaped the governments. I'm really curious how Oda is going to explain when and how Imu is able to use this weapon. For example, why not use it on Ohara or on Wano? I mean, I guess you could argue that the Marines investigated Ohara first and then found all the stuff they found, and that destroying Wano would unleash Pluton, but still, it's somewhat mysterious to me how this all is supposed to work. As we can see, the crew is still trying to catch up with and process everything that has happened while they were busy in Wano. Of course, Luffy and Robin immediately throw the idea out of the window that Sabo could have actually killed Cobra. After all, Luffy knows his brother and his dreams, and Robin has been staying with the revolutionaries for over 2 years as well. Absolutely love that Luffy and the rest of the crew is immediately willing to go back to Alabasta or even Meridian itself to look for Vivi. As a big Vivi fan myself, I'm always happy whenever she's mentioned in the story, and especially when the crew talks about her. I'm still convinced that she will come and join up with them at some point as a crew member, especially now. I mean, she might be already on her way. Who knows? In a really nice throwback to earlier One Piece, Zoro is the voice of reason here, telling Luffy that he needs to stay calm and that Vivi is strong and competent enough and can look out for herself. Reasonable in air quotes here, because while it's nice that Zoro believes in Vivi, I'm not sure he makes the best argument here, if we're being honest. I mean, he reminds Luffy that he trusted in Ace to solve his own problems as well, only did Zoro somehow forget how that turned out for him in the end? I mean, in case you need a reminder, it's with a fist-sized hole in the chest and Luffy almost losing his will to live. So, not exactly the best example to bring up here, I feel, but I do get the gist of what he's trying to say. Since no one knows where Vivi is at the moment, there's really no point in sailing across the entire Grand Line looking for her. Rightfully so, however, the rest of the crew does tease him for it with some fantastic nicknames, including Green Kaido and Green Big Mom, which were my 2 favorites here. Now, interestingly enough, Luffy doesn't want to hear any more news, understandably somewhat, because there has been a lot of info dump recently. However, as a result, Robin doesn't tell Luffy what happened on Amazon Lily and that Blackbeard has now taken Kobe. And I think it's reasonable to assume that in this case, even Zoro might have been willing to go and save Kobe. I think it's logical that Robin didn't tell him. I mean, I don't think she fully knows just how close Kobe, Zoro, and Luffy were, But yeah, it's still convenient that she doesn't. Then Luffy shares his actual dream for the very first time with his crewmates. The only other people he told so far were Ace, Sabo, and Shanks. But I don't want to spend too much time on this topic, honestly, since Oda-sensei is once again only teasing it here, but doesn't reveal anything yet. The reactions of the crew are of course fantastic, and it fits really well with what we've already seen from Sabo, Ace, and Shanks before. I personally felt that part of Luffy's dream was what he basically already shared with Kaido during the finale of their battle. And I know that there's the theory that Luffy simply wants to throw the world's biggest party, but I think it might still be something even bigger than that. After all, you don't really necessarily have to become Pirate King just for that. I know there's also the idea that he wants to go to the moon. Again, not exactly Pirate King related at first glance, so we'll just really have to wait and see what it ends up being. Point is, now his crew knows, and of course, Caribou, who it turns out has actually been on the ship with the crew listening in. And honestly, my first reaction to this was a bit of anger. I mean, you have some of the best observation haki users on the planet on this ship, and no one notices him? I mean, they did notice him on Fishman Island, and someone like Rayleigh is able to count the exact number of living things on an island. Suddenly, Caribou can hide in a barrel completely unnoticed on open sea. But then I remembered that Luffy had actually allowed him to leave Wano on his ship in Udon Prison. So maybe they all know exactly that he's in there. Maybe Frankie once again locked him up there a second time. I'm really very curious to see what Oda-sensei has in mind for Caribou and who he's working for. Blackbeard? Crocodile? Someone else maybe? We then skip ahead a couple of days as the Sunny enters the icy and snowy waters around the next island. Whew. I already mentioned that I'm incredibly excited that we're going to an unexpected winter island next. Though I do want to mention here that apparently we haven't been to a single autumn island yet in the entire story. Kinda sad when you think about it, but winter is awesome too. It's my favorite season. Now, even though the top two contenders for the next island are off the table with Elbaf and Sphinx Islands, there are actually two possible winter islands we know of in the New World that could be where we're going next. The first one is this mysterious island that Drake went to get Kaido's attention. It's unnamed, but everything to be made out of metal. It's also mentioned that this is an island that apparently was very important to Kaido, so it would be a fitting next destination for the Straw Hats after they defeated him. I mean, it would surely make for some very interesting interactions with the people there, that's for sure. And in general, it kind of reminded me a lot of Karakuri Islands, Vegapunk's birthplace and where Frankie was sent during the time skip. Now, on the One Piece wiki, it says that this is a winter island located in the Paradise part of the Grand Line, but looking back through the manga, I really couldn't find anything where it said so. So maybe Karakuri Island is actually in the New World. That of course could make it the arc where we finally meet Vegapunk, which is really overdue. And then there's also Yukiryu Island, which literally means Snow Dragon Island, which is a winter island somewhere in the New World where Shanks received the news that Whitebeard had torn up his invitation to meet. Now, if this island is under Shanks' command, that would of course also make for a fantastic next destination for the crew. And a fantastic lead up to Elbaf, where I do think Luffy and Shanks will finally meet. I do hope that this is going to be maybe a 20 to 40 chapter mini arc similar to Zou before we hopefully do move on to Elbaf. And of course, we really need to find out more about Emu and their incredible power. I mean, there are so many cool options for an overpowered devil fruit that they could wield. If you're curious which ones these might be, well, then make sure to check out that video right here or my discussion of the last chapter here.
Subscribe to the channel. Yes, yo, subscribe. Ooh, you. Say hi.